We've got investigations, we've got all-star reserves, we've got seasons over, we've got trades maybe happening. We had 5 games as well in the NBA. Let's talk about them all. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and this is the topical discussion on the morning breeze on NBS television. And I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, go to LockedOnDaily.com and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. It's at LockedOnDaily.com. That's where you want to go. Double bangs and thumbs, and we're less than a week away from the trade deadline show, so get involved in that. Go on pre-like and pre-bookmark and get that into your diaries. 1 p.m. next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern next Thursday. We are rolling that out there. It is international. Now be prepared. Be prepared. I'm going to say something that's going to sound weird. Are you ready? It is International Striped Horse Day, also known as International Zebra Day. Zebra. International Zebra Day. Zebra. Like Deborah. Zebra. It's International Zebra Day as we look at the action on Thursday across the NBA. Don't see any themed zebra jerseys across the league, but that's okay. Something for Nike to work on for next year. What's the news? Well, there's an investigation apparently into Terry Rozier from a game back in 2023. The NBA has conducted the investigation as to if there was something shifty going on regarding gambling. They said no. But apparently this investigation has been picked up by government agencies. So it's back in the news now, and we'll see exactly what happens. There is no indication at this point that Rozier is being suspended or that there's any guilt here, obviously, because he was found not guilty, or they looked into it and decided there was nothing there with the NBA. But government is looking into this situation. It was this weird game back in 2023 where there was conflicting reports about Rozier's status, and they weren't sure if he was going to play, and then he played and he left the game early in the first half after shooting horribly and didn't return. I didn't remember it at the time, but I know that old mate, one of our former Basketball Monster workers, Greg Ehrenberg, had put out a tweet that went a bit viral, just taking the piss out of people who claim things are rigged and talking about that game, and now people have found that tweet and are going on about it, thinking that Greg had inside knowledge, which I can assure you he didn't, but that's okay. But we'll see what's going on with this Rozier thing. Again, I don't think there's a suspension. Now, there is an argument. Well, that's not true. Not that I don't think there's a suspension. I know the NBA has investigated it, and they said, all good, play on. We'll see what happens with the criminal or whatever investigation this is, government investigation. But I can see that there being a component of Terry Rozier's. We've said, why is this guy washed? He's been on Washed Watch so many times and he's 30. If he was being investigated for this by the NBA in the background over the last few months, that weighs on you. I'm sure it does. There's zero doubt that would weigh on you. I don't know whether he's guilty. I don't know anything about that. All I know is the NBA said no, and the government's investigating it. But I know that if I was being investigated for that every game, it's all happening in the background, pretty sure my mind would have some trouble focusing on what I'm supposed to do, and that's play. Now, Terry Rozier's last game was fantastic. Do I think that he thinks, well, I'm in the clear now, so I'm back to balling? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that I know what's inside Terry Rozier's head. Probably a brain, I'm guessing, but I don't know what else is in there. I don't know what the thoughts are. But it would be foolish to dismiss that as not having an impact on his level of play. All-Star reserves were announced today. I never actually got around to doing my own All-Star reserve selections. As usual, there are going to be issues and people claiming that other guys should be in and shouldn't be in. I would say when we're talking about guys who were in and aren't in and you think should be in, there are some pretty glaring ones I think that do make... there's that do make me raise my eyebrow a little bit, just a little bit, nothing like major. I think you know who I'm going to say. I'm not like, okay, like in terms of the guys that didn't make it, I think that Trae Young not being there is pretty silly. I think LaMelo Ball and Tyrese Maxey could easily have made it as well. I think those guys probably should have a spot. Sabonis, Fox, and Booker on the west side, I could easily see those guys that could have made it. But yeah, the Trae one to me is the more outrageous, not even outrageous, but I think he should have made it. If I'm talking about who would I have Trae Young in there ahead of, well, you remember, you've got to have 3 front court players. The problem with the Eastern reserves is they're all guards outside of the 2 front court guys, Jaylen Brown, who I don't think probably should have made it, and Pascal Siakam, who I'm not sure should have made it either. But they're 2 front court guys. The other one's Evan Mobley. Lock him in, right? He should have made it. That's no problem. But Brown and Siakam making it, they didn't make it over Trae Young. That's not how those positions were determined. They didn't make it over LaMelo. They didn't make it over Tyrese Maxey. Now, I'm pretty sure Franz Wagner would have made one of those spots over a Jalen or a Siakam had he not been injured. But he was injured. So I don't think we can get, overly upset about that part of it because he missed so much time. But the guys that were the snubs, Trae and LaMelo and Maxey, who I think are the real snubs, not as much Halliburton. Who were they in over? You could make the argument they're over Lillard, maybe. You could make an argument over Tyler Hero, and I get that. And Trae Young over Tyler Hero, to me, is probably what I would have done. That's probably the one thing that I would pretty clearly swap there. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that and who you think should be in the East, remembering that you got to have 3 front court guys. So Mobley, Brown, and Siakam on the reserve list, they can only be replaced by front court guys, not guards. On the West side of things, in terms of guys that made it, so it was Edwards, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Jaren Jackson, Alperen Şengün, Wembanyama, and Jalen Williams. So in the East, so in the West, we've got lots of front court players. We've only got actually only got 2 guards in Harden and Edwards. So they both actually have to be there. Well, you need 2 guards. Everyone else is a front court guy. So you can talk about the players who may have been eliminated or left off on the West, like Sabonis, Fox, Irving, Booker. Some will say Norm Powell. I don't believe Norm Powell should have made it. But I could easily see an argument for Devin Booker over James Harden. I could see an argument for De'Aaron Fox or Kyrie Irving over James Harden, but I don't think it's a completely crazy decision. In terms of the front court guys, like Sabonis over Şengün, yeah, I could see that. I could see Sabonis over Şengün without any question. I think Şengün's been pretty good. He's had some difficulties this season. I think Şengün's season last season was almost better than this season without looking at all the impact numbers or anything like that. So that's iffy to me. But overall, I think, yeah, with a few little nitpicks, I think, Trae over Hero, I think, fine, do that. James Harden, instead of him having Devin Booker or Fox, yeah, maybe. But remember the positional requirements, which you can argue whether the positional requirements make sense or not. That's fine. But that's not, we have to work within that part of it. I say here on the notes here, trade, ? Because every time somebody goes out, Zach LaVine, personal reasons, any more time anyone's injured at this point, the immediate thing is, well, they're holding him out for a trade. They're showcasing him for a trade. They're putting him in cotton balls for a trade. This is a fake injury for a trade. It says every time. And it doesn't happen. Because my counter to this is, okay, find me an example of when it happens. I think there's one that someone gave me over the last 10 years, one. And if teams are holding players out in order to consider for trade, we just get told. And this one, it might have slid under the radar a bit, but Bogdanovic is out because of a trade. I don't know if he's... Look, he may not be traded, but the designation on his absence is not injured. It's not personal reasons. It's not illness. You know what it is? Not with team. He's not injured. He's just not with team. And the reason for that, I've been told, is that it's a 90% chance of a trade of Bogdanovic. So he's not on the road trip with his team. Neither is Clint Capela. Now, Clint Capela is listed as injured with a back spasm, and I inquired about that as well, and I was told that, of course, they'd love to trade Capela if the deal is right, but that is not the same scenario as what is happening for Bogdanovic here. So, Bogdanovic is listed as not with team for the Hawks. And I've been told that is your trade because of the designation. It's not injured, it's not illness, it's not personal. It's just not with trade, not with team. And that's very different. That is not a fake injury to hold them out. That is them telling you, sometimes they're even more explicit in telling you, that is them telling you, yeah, he's not with the team because we are trading. Yes? Cool. We also got a report, like not verified by anyone on the team, not verified by any of the big reporters, but it was someone who's pretty locked into the Hornets. Now, I wish I could remember his full name. It's Spencer, the guy I think does BuzzBeat for the Hornets, and he gets some interesting scoops for the Hornets. And his thing is something that I've been saying since like the 5th of November, is that Trae Young is done for the season. And they believe that Trae Young is having surgery on his back, and that'll be the end of his year. Again, not sure that it's 100% accurate, but absolutely everything lines up there for me that Trae Young is done. The last one is that all of the Sixers players, Embiid, George, Martin, and someone else, Drummond, all out again. So we got that update. They're all out. Embiid's still out. George still out. That's the two most important ones. So if you're wondering about that, well, there's your answer. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes. It used to be waiting and wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back. And then you wait and you wonder and you worry more. Well, now, taxes, it's just matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who'll give you your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. So, all you can do now is just get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right. Let's look at the waiver wire, shall we? At who's been added, who's been dropped across fantasy leagues over the last 48 hours. The most added player on this list is a member of the Charlotte Hornets. It is Josh Okogie. Some of that was streaming for yesterday. Josh Green's going to be back for them on the first of the back-to-back. LaMelo's out. Mark Williams is out. Okogie still remains. Like, okay, grab him. I don't mind it. I worry a bit about outsized expectations for what he brings, but that's fine. The second most added one, yeah, we love it. We want to get here. It is the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Yeah, people are adding him because he's playing well. Do I trust it? Of course I don't. Why would I do that? I'm not stupid. My brain occasionally works. And it works in this case. Yeah, like, I get it. Stream him in. Is it that important? No, not really. Is he going to continue this? Almost definitely not. But he's playing well. The next most added player is Zach Ricochet. We're going to have a lot to say about Ricochet later on, so keep tuned for that. Dylan Brooks, who's playing today, we'll talk about that. Vas Mitic, which again, assists are very hard to get, so I understand it. And Ayo Dosunmu, with no Zach LaVine, Dosunmu is starting. He's quite limited still, but that's okay. He is in a position now that he is a rosterable player. The most dropped players, number one is Jalen Johnson. He's out for the year. We know this. Number two is Trace Jackson-Davis, who got 0 minutes in the last game for the Warriors, and he is not good enough to hold on to waiting for this stuff. So see you later to him. Next one is Nick Smith. He's also very bad. He's a bad player. He will have better games than he's had the last three. That's fine. But you don't have to hold and wait for them. Next one is Noah Clowney, who's also, at the moment, not very good. He might have some value later on, but if you don't want to hold through the ankle injury, see you later. Robert Williams doesn't get minutes if they're healthy. We'll talk about Williams and the Blazers later on. Maybe they've changed their mind in today's game. And the last one is Gary Trent, who is purely just a stream. So it is impossible for me, really, to argue with any of those adds and drops that have happened as the most popular moves over the last 48 hours. And I almost did the... almost sung the Wicked song then, because every time I hear the word popular, it goes through my head in my day-to-day life. You know what it's like. I do want to embarrass myself too much here, though. Yeah, give me 200 thumbs up on this video, and I'll sing it on the next show. All right, let's get into the first game of the day. We're talking Lakers and Wizards. That's the first one. No Anthony Davis with the abdominal issue. He is out for the next week at least. And they did the thing that we thought they would do. Jackson Hayes started in place of Davis. And honestly, he was pretty good. It is worth noting that it's against the Wizards, but that's okay. Hayes played 25 minutes. He had 10 and 10 with 3 blocks. That's Nick Richards' music. Actually, it's better because he had 3 blocks. He shot 100% from the field. If you're looking for a short-term stream, I don't mind it. I have to talk to you about my man, Rui Hachimura. 26 minutes and 22 points. He did the thing that proves the thing. He did have a steal and a block. That's very nice. Thank you for doing that, Rui. But the way that Rui Hachimura is able to have any sniff of 12-team value is he needs to just be an unbelievably efficient shooter. So what did he do here? Shot 75%. His usage was up to 22. They cooked the Wizards. He had 22 points on 12 shots. Is that going to happen? Of course, no way. What are you talking about? Not a chance. Effective field goal percentage of 92, not going to happen. Not real. So you can stream him in, especially in points leagues. That's pretty good, right? But in a category league, there's a lot of fluke there. We only needed 27 LeBron minutes. He had 24, 3, and 11. And what we also usually get in a game without AD is a little bit more Max Christie. And I won't say that he was awesome in 30 minutes. He had 13 points, 3 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. But I'm okay with that. I would prefer to have Christie over Hachimura if I'm adding someone, and I have Hayes over Rui as well. Yeah, it wasn't a great Christie game, but it was interesting. And Christie had 17, 6, and 5. Not Christie, Reeves, sorry, which is pretty solid. Jared Vanderbilt. This man is just getting steals like he's the Hong Kong mattress. 4 steals again for Vanderbilt. 4 and 7 in 16 minutes. Now, at this point, he's a rebounds guy and a steals guy in limited minutes. And if he ever played 28 minutes, then yeah, he would be a 12-team league guy, but he's just not close to doing that at this point. So I wouldn't bother with it yet. Although the steals are nice. And I've got to talk to you about Shake Milton because he scored 20 points. That's great. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Lovely. He shot 88%. And this is not going to be the last time that I talk about shooting anomalies and unsustainable shooting in today's slate. That's great from Shake. He'd barely been playing in most other games. This is a weird one with no Finney-Smith and no Davis and no Vincent. And DFS and Vincent could be back in the next game. So I'm going to ignore most of that from Shake. I like what I saw from Hayes. I like what I saw from Christie. I actually do like that production from Rui, even though it's based on the back of untold lies or just bad shooting. Either one of those two things. Shout out to Dalton Connect, who got ejected at the end of the game. He had 10 points in 22 minutes. The Wizards, they were able to roll in here with the same starting lineup that they've been rolling out there. And what do I do with this? What do I do with this? Kuzma, the man that's had enough of fitting in. It's back to the old Kuz. He had 13 points on 21%. He was 5 of 9 from the line. He played 21 minutes. He had no defensive stats. And this man can go and absolutely devour my ass. What is this guy? I've been saying this for about 2 to 3 weeks, I think. And I'm going to double down, triple down, quadruple down. It is more beneficial for somebody else to pick him up in your league than for you to hold him. And if you're worried about dropping him because someone's going to add him immediately, good. Do it. That's amazing.
Get that garbage out of here.
Because he sucks. Who does he think he is? Someone else can deal with that nonsense. Bub Carrington had 2 points in 22 minutes. He had 6 assists. We don't roster him. Jordan Poole somehow managed to just sort of squeak some value out. Not great, but 19, 5, and 2. And Keyshawn George had 3 blocks, which is the only way he was able to look solid. We don't roster Keyshawn. We don't roster Bub. Even Jonas Valanciunas in an opportunity here again without Sar. They just say, I don't care if you start. I don't care if you come off the bench. You're playing 18 minutes. And that, to me, is a jack. Now, I know what you're going to say.
Get that garbage out of here.
You're going to say, Josh, but I'm just going to hold to the trade deadline. Fine. There's absolutely no problem with holding and waiting. But let me ask you this question. If Jonas Valanciunas cannot play minutes, good minutes, on the worst team by an absolute mile in the NBA, what team is he going to that's going to let him do more? Now, there's obviously different incentives with this squad, but come on, man. He didn't sign with another team because nobody wanted to give him money or a role. So he went to the worst team in the NBA. The worst team in the NBA watches him play. Is like, I don't know about that. And he doesn't play. And we still, I know it's hard because we still hold our hope. Go, what if he gets traded here and he gets 25 minutes and he's able to do stuff? I don't think that's going to happen. But we're so close that I get holding. I get it. Corey Kispert had 11 points, 18 minutes. I saw a tweet from somebody. I don't remember who it was, and maybe even was someone listening to this show. I don't know. And they're like, man, we need to do something to free Corey Kispert, get him out of Washington. Wow, he doesn't deserve this. Doesn't he? Maybe he does. Maybe he's part of the reason that it is bad. Why would we need to save Corey Kispert? Anyway, he remains bad. He had 11 points with a 1-1. Good for him. We don't worry about that. While Justin Champagny, he got the block. He had 6 points. He's just a name to watch as we move forward. Well, Bilal, Jesus, it's so hard to hold Bilal. It is. He will have some flashes of good games, but we haven't got it really at all. If I'm holding anyone between him and Bub and Keyshawn and Kispert and Champagny, it is Bilal. But man, what he is doing at the moment is absolutely not worthy of being held in 12-team leagues. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. You can predict the first touchdown. You can call the MVP. You can even bet on the coin toss. FanDuel makes it so easy to get in on the action. Live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds. And that game, live in-game, live betting, yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Live betting feature is there no matter what happens on the field. You can get your $5, win your first $5 bet, and get $200 in bonus bets and use that all throughout the Super Bowl. So download the app and head to FanDuel.com to get started. Just $5 is all it needs. You place that bet, you get a win, you get the $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 59, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay. We'll go in and look at the second game of the night. It wasn't much closer, if we're going to be completely honest. The Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. 137 Cleveland, 115 Atlanta. We will start on the Atlanta side where I talked already about the Bogdanovic issue, the Clint Capela absence as well. But what they did was something they hadn't been doing. What they'd been doing in place of Jalen Johnson is starting Zachary Ricochet and Vit Krejci together. Today, they did not. Ricochet did move back into the starting lineup. Krejci moved to the bench. So at the 4, they started Mohamed, why are you gay? And Mohamed Gay was fine. He played just 16 minutes. He had 2 points. He had 3 steals. He had a block. If he was playing 30 minutes a night, actually, that would be really good. I'm not really sure that's going to happen. And there's always going to be the idea that, did they start Okongwu and Gay together because it's up against Mobley and Allen? Possibly. Will they just go back to Krejci in the next one? Not that Krejci did anything to make you think he was good, because he wasn't. But we watched that one, and that means that Mohamed Gay is someone you look at in deeper formats for now. Larry Nance getting the backup center minutes. He was scoreless. We don't worry about rostering him. And David Roddy Piper played 4 minutes. Okongwu had 14, 7, and 4, which is passable in a game that was as much of a blowout as this. I'm going through most of the stuff here before I get to the 2 big names, or the 2 big performances we're going to talk about. And then Trae Young, the slump just is continuing. So I don't know what's actually going on with Trae at the moment, but there is a lot of people said, well, it's just because Jalen Johnson's not there that Trae can't do anything. And I'm not really sure that's true. Yes, it has coincided. That doesn't mean that it's going to be the case as we move forward, but it is a very prolonged slump here from Trae. 15 and 10. 2 threes, but bad field goals, and another 3 or 4 night from the line. Bad. Big buy low. Let's talk about the field goal percentage merchant DeAndre Hunter, who didn't really get by on big field goals here. He had 25 points, and to his credit, 5 rebounds and 2 assists is pretty good. He got by on this one by going 12 of 12 from the line. He shot just 14% from 3. He was 83 from 2, but then got a million free throws. So it's a good line. He's been pretty bad lately. I would be holding him. But the next question is, what do you do with Zach Ricochet? Because it's very exciting. It's exciting. He's a rookie. He was picked number 1 for a reason, Josh. Yeah, because they made a mistake and everyone else was bad also. But he was picked number 1 for a reason. It is easy to look at and go, 30 points. He's figured it out. He's unbelievable. And again, it is important to you or to me or to you, to me, to you to think this, is that when you're playing this from a fantasy perspective and you are taking in NBA media is going to love it. They're going to love this. Ricochet, the number 1 pick, a perfect shooting first half. And your response should be like, not going to happen. Whereas everyone else can celebrate it. Because it literally did happen. But our job, it's not even a job, our hobby, our success in fantasy comes from going, okay, but now what? That happened, great. But now what? I can't change that. I can celebrate it, yeah. But it doesn't matter. Like, now what? Because he's not going to shoot that. And we'll play the game. He ended up shooting 79% from the field. By the way, perfect from the line in the first half. Ended up shooting 50% on 6 attempts. But if he's not shooting 79%, and I'd beg you guys just to go and have a look at his shooting numbers for the season and don't go, well, Jalen Johnson's out. It's time for him to cook. He still played only 25 minutes. Jalen Johnson being out does not turn Zach Ricochet, a 40% shooter, into a 79% shooter. That's not how any of that works. back again to the major point I'm trying to make here on this, is that he was 11 of 14 from the field. Like 7 of 14 would be 50%. Also not who he is. Let's say 6 of 14. 5 fewer shots. Let's make one of those a 3. 11 fewer points. So he has 19. Still pretty good. 1 rebound. 1 assist. 1 steal. And bad free throws. So it's great. And if you added Ricochet for today and you started him today, it worked perfectly. It is a great stream. That is one thing that you can say, I made a right call, I did the right thing, and it worked out well. But the differences are it's fake, right? It's fake. He's not shooting like that. We all know this. But again, a lot of us, not all of us will know this, all of us will look at, how many fantasy points did he score? Or they'll go, 30 real life points. But I'd be incredibly cautious about who I dropped if I'd consider adding him. By all means, try it. He's going to start. Will he play these minutes? I don't know. And if Bogdanovic is gone and I don't know who comes back, then sure. But what happened here it's not because Jalen Johnson was out. It just isn't. Jalen Johnson does not make a bad shooter the greatest perimeter shooter of all time. He doesn't do that. On the Cavs, Garland returned. Mitchell played on the back-to-back, a little surprising. Jalen Tyson went to the bench. Garlo, 26, 2 and 7 with 2 steals. Evan Mobley, 16 and 10. Mitchell, 24 with 6 assists. And Allen had 9 and 15. But let's talk about Milk. Number one question, people go, why do you call him Milk, Josh? I don't. It's not my nickname for him. That's his nickname on Basketball Reference. Why is he called Milk? I'm going to assume it's because he's white. I don't know that. I didn't name him that. I just think it's an absolutely hilarious nickname, and that is why I call him that. That is what it's listed on Basketball Reference. I did not make it up. Milk. Milk did not go sour. 20 points on 82%. So he is on an incredible hot streak. Absolutely an incredible hot streak, Ty Jerome. He played 26 minutes. He had 20 points, 6 assists, 2 steals. I love that he got assists and steals to supplement this. There was no Levert. There's no Wade. There's no Okoro. Wade's going to be out a bit of time here. All of this stuff is great. If you add Jerome and use him, you're getting really unbelievable value. Over the last 8 games, he's at 17 points per game with 3.5 assists and 1.3 steals, which those numbers aren't great. So what's happening? Well, he's got a true shooting of 69% giggity. He's at 57 from the field, 65 from 2, and 46 from 3. It's just not going to stick. The minutes are at 25. His usage is at 24. Right? He is a pretty high usage player at the moment. They give him opportunities. But even if you say Levert's going to remain out, and they'll rest Garland, and they'll rest Mitchell, and that means Jerome plays his 22 a night, true, but I'd also cast your eye back maybe 2-3 weeks ago when they were actually all healthy. When Okoro and Levert was there and Wade was there and he was playing 13 minutes a night, Jerome. At the moment, just everything's going in. And it's great. That has literally happened. It doesn't mean that it keeps happening. It's very unlikely that it keeps happening, to be honest, because this level of shooting is just not a realistic possibility. It's not. There was a stretch of games here in the middle of December, 14 minutes, 7 minutes, 20 minutes, 14 minutes, 19 minutes, 20 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes, 16 minutes. Right, and it even goes further back. There was a 18, 11, 12, 12, 21, 10, 16, 16 run. And the shots didn't go in. Players were healthy. He didn't play. Not worth it. Now, they are going in. And while Levert is out, he's worth looking at. But that level of shooting is just, it's not real. Max Strus, only 21 minutes in a blowout. 11, 5, and 3 with 3 threes. While these players are out, I don't mind having Strus in a 12-teamer. The minutes upside of Strus over Jerome is way higher as well. And this game is not a great indication just because of how much of a blowout it was. But Strus is not getting by at the moment with numbers based on 80% shooting, like Ricochet, or like Jerome, or like Hachimura. Like all these names were really bumped up to big games today on the back of insane shooting performances. The next one, you'll be shocked to know, another blowout as the Wolves take care of the Jazz 138-113. Mike Conley on a back-to-back was a scratch. He was dealing with a thumb issue apparently, so that meant that with Donte DiVincenzo also out, Nickeil Alexander-Walker started, not Rob Dillingham. So it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker starting. in place of Michael Conley. 138-113 the score. Edwards, back-to-back monsters. 36, 6, and 11 with 3 blocks. Unbelievable efficiency. Love that. Love to get these games from Ant. Rudy Gobert dropped in a big revenge game. 16 and 9 with 5 assists and 4 blocks. Fantastic from him. There was some bad news, though. Julius Randle left the game with what they called groin soreness, and you know what that means. It means he pinged his groin. He's going to be out multiple weeks. We saw what happened. He went up and grabbed the inside of his leg. That's not soreness. Stop calling it soreness. But it's a new thing. We'll see what they come out with, and then in a day's time, it gets reassigned to a grade 1 groin strain, and it's going to be a week to 10 days minimum. It should be 3, and we'll see. What this means is it's full Nas Reed time. 28 minutes for Reed, 12 points, 4 threes, 80% shooting, but now he's going to get a million shots. He's going to get to play a lot of minutes, and if you're in a deeper league, you're going to want to take a look at Luka Garza. 14 minutes, 16 points. He did it again. Guess what, guys? It is the day for it. 86% shooting. So he's not going to be this good. But he's going to have to get minutes because who the hell else? Well, the other who the hell else is Josh Minott, who played 8 minutes, or maybe Leonard Miller, who played 4. But Garza seems to have the priority. So there's going to be Reed and Gobert playing a lot. And you get some Minott, maybe some Miller, and some Garza in there. So just keep an eye on those players in deeper leagues. What else happened in this one? Alexander Walker was fine. 15, 4, and 5. That's better than fine. That's actually really good. I don't think Conley's missing time here, so I wouldn't be rushing to add Alexander Walker. While Dillingham had 19 with 8 assists. Great. Unbelievable. Guess how we did it? 73%. Doesn't matter, though. That's really impressive. And if you streamed him enough, you knew Conley was out. It worked out really well. And it was a fine decision to stream either of those guys. It worked out fantastically. There's not enough for them all to do it when Conley is there. But it's good to have it in the back of your head. What about the man who's changed my mind on him? We've reversed course. He's moved out of being a streamer. He's figured it out. He's a must-roster player. Jaden McDaniels had 4 points on 25%. Of course he did. Why would he? Why? Why would I kick myself in the dick with a rake again? I'm waiting for Patrick Williams to do it to me once more. In all seriousness, that's annoying. But I'd hold him, obviously. He had a really strong run of games, but this is a Jaden McDaniels specialty. It's a real JMDS, the old Jaden McDaniels special, to go out there and just do absolutely nothing. He does it so often. Hold, but now we're extra skeptical about what comes from this. Speaking of not knowing what to do or not knowing what to expect, the Utah Jazz men, they brought a lot of guys back. Of course they did. They needed to. Like all these players, man. We need to see them. Walker Kessler, he was back. Drew Eubanks went to the bench. Larry Markkinen started. Bryce Sensabaugh went to the bench. And unfortunately for you and for me, well, not unfortunately because John Collins started, but that meant that Michael Potter moved to the bench. As for Potter, who started the last game, he was a DNP CD. Of course he was. So are we feeling good about Potter? Nah. Are we feeling good about Svi Mykhailiuk? Nah. What about Kyle Filipowski, who played 14 minutes? Or Bryce Sensabaugh, who played 15? Or Drew Eubanks, who played 13? Nah. Now, those guys will have value. And Eubanks, if you're able to sit on Drew Eubanks at the moment and just see what they do with Kessler, I don't mind it. But it's also just completely weird every game. We got 23 Keontae George points in 27 minutes. He'd been terrible. And then he hit literally every shot except for one free throw. 7 of 7 from the field. I maintain that we should hold him. Isaiah Collier, 11, 2, and 7. 71% from him. Wow. He should be on rosters too. Markkinen, not as effective. 15 and 2 with no other numbers. I'm very glad that I avoided Larry Markkinen in every situation that I could. I just wish they would just end it. Just get him out behind the sheet because why are we edging this? Just get him out of here so we can actually drop. And Walker Kessler, what's this? Walker Kessler had 17% shooting. 2 points, 8 rebounds, 27 minutes. Okay, that's annoying. It's just really frustrating. Clarkson had 16 in 25 bench minutes. Sexton had 19, 3, and 5. Collins had 16 and 5 with 2 blocks. Like, all good enough. Like, you've rostered George and Collins and Sexton and Collier and Kessler and Markkinen, but we just don't know who's going to be there every game. It's going to adjust every single time, it feels like, and we're not going to have any ability to trust it until we get to maybe like March the 20th, when we finally hear that these guys have missed 6 in a row and we can feel good about saying they're done. It's going to be a really frustrating scenario basically all the way through from here on out. So be ready for it. And you could make a ballsy call and say, I'm dropping Markkanen. Someone would grab him. And I'd feel very good that it would actually be the right call if you did. And if you dropped John Collins, it would be the right call. They will have bigger and better games in the short term for sure. But it won't be all the way through. It just won't be. I'm very confident of that. Very confident. And by the way, if you're worried about it, Markkanen cannot be traded. So that can't even bite you. He just cannot be traded. All right, the next game. We're talking Houston Rockets and Memphis Grizzlies. Steven Adams, revenge game legend, starting against his former team with Alperen Şengün, first-time All-Star Alperen Şengün dealing with a calf contusion. Sort of came out of nowhere, this Şengün calf issue. I don't think there's anything serious here, but we keep an eye on it, of course. As for Adams, 23 minutes, 11 and 10. All right, that's a little bit clock-turny backy. If Şengün happens to miss, like deeper leagues, 14-teamers even, would consider Adams somewhat useful. We got 38 minutes out of Amen Thompson. He was awesome again. 21 and 7, 4 assists, 1 steal and 4 blocks. Good volume, hit his shots, hit his free throws. He has been just so good. Unbelievably good. Well, Jalen Green also was able to bounce back with 39 minutes, 25, 6 and 5. Didn't shoot well, but got a lot of volume. Fred VanVleet also a little better. Not great. 13, 1 and 5, a steal and a block, while Dylan Brooks also was able to get his revenge on Memphis. 22 points, but in true DeAndre Hunter style, he had 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks, and nothing actually changes there with him. He's just a stream guy who, could hit or could be terrible. We also got 30 Tari Eason minutes, and this is one of these things I discussed. I can't even remember what it was. It was sometime today, where I was talking about Asar Thompson. It was on the preview show earlier today. All right, he played 30 minutes here. So when he goes back and plays 23 in the next game, it's not that he's limited because of an injury, or if he goes back to playing 23 minutes, it is because the injury is flared up. Because he obviously doesn't have a limit of 24 minutes anymore. He played 30 minutes, he had 13 points, 12 rebounds. Not a great line, obviously. We're still rostering Eason, but he's not blowing us away. But if he goes back and plays 22 minutes, 24 minutes in the next one, it's because that's all they want him to play. And that's not a good sign. So we keep an eye on that for the next time out. Not really a huge amount else happening in this game. We got a little bit of Jock Landale, who had 8 points in 16 minutes, and Cam Whitmore had 5 in 17. Don't roster Cam Whitmore in even 14-team leagues at this stage. The Grizzlies. Luke Kennard played because Ja Morant was out. Again, bro cannot play more than a game in a row. What is going on here? What we did get is the standard thing. Good team, bad Zach Edey. 17 minutes for Edey. He had 4 fouls. He had 5 points and 2 rebounds. He's a bad team merchant. I would be looking at him as just a fringe player. He'll have the big one occasionally. But it's not anywhere close to consistently good, and they won't consistently play in big minutes. Well, in this one, we got Brandon Clark getting 31. He had 13 and 5, 3 steals, 2 blocks, elite shooting numbers. Clark is at least streamable for 12s and 14-teamers. It was the Duck Luke Kennard who started with Ja Morant out. 22 points, 2 steals. When Morant is out, Kennard is the guy now, not Pippen, who only played 12 minutes. While we got Jaren having 21 and 4, while Des Bain had 24, 12 and 6. Good games from all of those guys. And Santi Aldama sort of just split the middle. 15 and 5, 26 minutes. That's pretty good. 3 threes, 46% shooting. Fine. That's mid enough. We're still holding. I still don't fully know how to evaluate what he's going to do or where his season's going to go from here. But it's good enough to hold on to while we got 30 minutes from Jalen Wells. A 1-1 for Wellesley. He shot 71%. But there's just not enough volume in what Wells does to be anything more than a deeper league player. Like 16-teamers, yes. 14, borderline stuff. And with no Morant and no Smart, Huff didn't play. Conchar didn't play. And GG Jackson played 9 minutes. Again, people are, for some reason, still rostering Scottie Pippen in 12s. Insane. Do not do that. Still rostering GG Jackson in 12s. What are you doing? Please don't do that either. Absolutely no reason to be doing either of those things. The last game of the night. What is going on here? The Portland Trail Blazers. Are they the best team in the NBA with Coach of the Year Chauncey Billups? I don't know. But they've won I think 6 of the last 7 and they just cooked the Magic 119-90. That is a 30-point victory. The Magic decided to make the change. Goga Bitadze started over Wendell Carter Jr. It didn't go very well. Goga played 18 minutes and had 2 points. He attempted 1 shot and it wasn't very good. He was minus 18. Wendell Carter played 25 minutes. He had 12 and 7. I had fears about what would happen when Goga returned, and I believe that Wendell and Franz and Paolo were the better option. Now, they didn't win, obviously, in this game, but Goga wasn't good at all in this combination. I would attempt... Now, Goga was very good early this season. We know this. I would attempt to hold on to Goga, but I also understand that if you need to make a move, I don't think it'll be disastrous if you do. It's not great. It is only the one game, and he could play 28 minutes in the next one. And they obviously made the distinct decision to start Badadze. But was starting him and playing him limited minutes the plan? Or was that just something that happened because they started getting killed? We don't know that. And that's why I think if I could, I would like to hold and see exactly sort of what goes on here. But it's not a great beginning to this. I believe this is the first time that Goga started next to Paolo and Franz as well this season. So not great. As for Paolo, 21, 6 and 3. Look, that looks okay, but no threes and bad field goals and bad free throws again. And he is killing those percentages. He's been terrible since returning. And Franz Wagner was fine. Pretty good, actually. 24, 3 and 3. Hard to complain. John Isaac did some stuff. 3 steals and 2 blocks. I'm not going to get sucked in on that one just yet. And then Mr. Black started, and he went back to being Anthony Black. 0 points, 19 minutes, missed all 3 of his shots, had no assists, no steals, and no blocks. He's not very good. He's had a couple of good games, and Cole Anthony in this one had 16 points in 24 minutes off the bench. It seems like Jalen Suggs will be returning soon, so do not think that you have to hold on to either Cole Anthony or Anthony Black. They're not good enough. Black is so inconsistent, and even in minutes when he gets them, he's not going to be putting up huge numbers. We know this. So don't worry about that. Tristan Da Silva also went scoreless after a couple of strong games as a bench option. Don't need to be rostering him in most formats, and KCP obviously is not a guy to hold. He had 4 points in his 24 minutes. As for Wendell, 12 and 7 is fine. It's more 14 than 12. I wouldn't be bothered in 10-team leagues, or even 12. The guys we roster in 12s are Paolo, it's Franz, it's Suggs. Maybe it's a hold on Goga, and I think that's it, honestly. That's it. The Blazers. We had Jeremy Grant out, so that made them instantly better. Jeremy Grant wasn't there, and that meant that Scoot Henderson moved back into the starting lineup, and Scoot orchestrated this whole thing. 23, 5 and 7, 2 steals, 3 threes, 44%, 100 from the line. We said it last time, I don't know how you can put the genie back into the bottle and move Scoot to the bench, and of course Billups did. Scoot just has to be rostered. Even coming off the bench, he's been pretty strong most of these games. And what is really interesting about this game is that Anthony Simons played only 21 minutes as a starter. He had 8 points. He didn't play very well. Denny Avdia also struggled. 11 points in 25 minutes. He was pulled off Giggity very early on. He didn't shoot well, 25%, and they went with other options. And they were able to have other options have success. And it all ties back to the stuff at the start of the season. I remember discussions, and this is actually... this just clicked now in my head. It's actually comical. When we had the discussions about Denny, and people were saying, man, he's going to be great this season. He moves it and goes on to a worse team. He's going to have great numbers. A worse team. Did you see the team he used to play for? And think about that now. About saying that the Blazers are a worse team than the Wizards. There are still a lot of names here on this Blazers squad. And that makes it frustrating. Denny has been very good. This was not so good. Shaden Sharp was the guy who picked up the slack for both Simons and Avdia. He had 23, 2 and 2. He's always a little empty, and he did require a DeAndre Hunter shooting performance to get there, 64%. The next question is going to be, well, what do you do with Tamani Kamara? Because he was put into his role, which is take 4 shots. He did have 2 blocks, and you all, if you're not a first-time listener, you're all well aware of my position on Kamara. He's fine to have. You can stream him in when the schedule works, but overall, he's a very low upside steals merchant. That's what he does. And I think it's relatively self-evident, but whatever. We saw the downsides of him. Ayton was really good, the Snowman, 22 and 8 in 35 minutes. He actually took 4 free throws as well, which is unbelievable. But where does that leave us with the centers? Because Rob Williams didn't play any minutes at all. We got Jabari Walker playing 19 for 10 points. And Don Clingan was dreadful. He was dreadful. He had 5 fouls in 8 minutes. He went scoreless again. He had 3 rebounds. Someone left a comment, and I'm not using this to shade this guy at all, because we had a discussion. He goes, I don't understand why you are so high on Walker Kessler and so down on Donovan Clingan when their games are the same. And my pushback to that is I don't think I'm that high on Walker Kessler. I don't think he's that good. I think he's totally okay, but I also think he's a little bit better than Clingan. But I just don't think Clingan's good. I don't think he's good now. I don't think he's going to become good as a full-time big-minute NBA starter. I don't think he'll ever become that. I think Kessler could become that, but also I think Kessler's got pretty significant limitations in what they do. And it's easier to look at these two guys and go, oh, you are 7 foot tall and you are white and you block shots. That is all true. Kessler is slightly better than what Clingan is, but overall I still think they are hard players to build big minutes into on any sort of NBA team because of their limitations. The question here is what do you do with Clingan? Because like Kessler, if he plays 25 to 26 minutes, he will be useful for fantasy. I think he'll be actually really bad in real life. But with the way the Blazers are playing, what do they do? Like, are they going to actually sell players off? Are they going to fake injure guys? I'm honestly not sure that they do. With how they're playing at the moment and how they've pushed themselves out of the tank or out of the top odds discussion, it's impossible for them to get top 3 odds almost now. I'm not sure if Ayton sits down. I'm not sure if Clingan gets to roll as a starter. Jeremy Grant, I'm pretty sure, will sit down because also, again, he doesn't make them better. So, maybe... Okay, I'll say this with Clingan. If you're stashing Donovan Clingan, it's not for the trade deadline. There is no way in the world that DeAndre Ayton's getting traded. You're stashing Clingan waiting for something in March to sit Ayton down. The problem here is the Simon, Sharp, Avdia, Kumara, like how do all the minutes play out? And maybe they move off of someone, but I'm not sure they do. This recent run of form is really quite confusing in terms of how they're going to approach things. You roster Scoot, you roster Denny, you roster Ayton, Sharp, maybe. You roster Simons, don't think you roster Grant. And Clingan, he is clearly not worth it. The only way to do it is if you're waiting for something that might happen, and I honestly do not think that Ayton gets traded. I don't think Ayton is going to go. I think if anything happens, it'll be a drop-off in form and a benching due to a fake injury later in the year. Because it's very clear that they prefer Ayton over Clingan at this point. That's why I didn't really understand. I never understood the Clingan pick to begin with. But on this team, I don't know what to make of it. And that's where we're at with that. I would love to hear your opinions on Scoot and Denny and Clingan and how to make sense of what this Blazers team's doing, because it's pretty hard to sort of figure out exactly what they're up to. Let's look at the lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night. It could only be Anthony Edwards. 36 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and 3 blocks. The man we just spoke about. Or actually, that went a bit earlier than that, because the waiver wire line of the night, we're going to go back to LA, because Shake Milton with 21, 4, and 4, and 2 steals. Yeah, he was awesome. I wouldn't buy into really that at all with Gabe Vincent out. The young gun of the night, that's Sterling Henderson. Of course it is. He was great. Old Scooter. He had 23 and 7 with 2 steals. And your dud of the night, a few options here as per usual. We're going to go in the dud of the night to... which way should we go? Vic Krejci. Yeah, 6-1 and 0. Krejci just didn't... And those 6 points, basically all of it came in garbage time. So you're lucky to get out of it with that. I would still try and hold Vid if I could. That is the end of the show. That is the end of International Zebra Day. And that is the end of a week of recaps. We'll still have preview shows and weekly preview shows across the weekend, and all of my game recaps are written up on Basketball Monster as well. And what I want you guys to do in the interim is make sure, A, you have a good weekend. Make sure you are celebrating whatever it is you need to celebrate. Any small thing, like, for example, my partner is doing a PhD at the moment. Yeah, a bit of life stuff. She's doing a PhD at the moment, and one of her papers she wrote got accepted into a publication. So that's great. That's awesome. So we'll sit there and we'll celebrate that tonight in however we choose to celebrate. Probably by looking through box scores, but we'll celebrate it nonetheless. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.